China's latest stimulus effort unintentionally creates chaos in its financial markets as short-term rates hit 50%. Before we dive in details, please subscribe to the channel and stay always one step ahead to know all global important events happening around you. Give a thumbs up and share the video with your family and friends. Let's move on with the video. China's bid to provide stimulus through increased bond issuance has led to a cash crunch, Bloomberg reported. This week, banks issued a form of short-term debt at the highest volume on record. China's latest effort to support economic growth has unintentionally fueled a massive cash crunch, creating chaos in its financial markets, Bloomberg reported. In a rare move, Beijing approved a mid-year budget adjustment last month that enabled the sale of $137 billion in sovereign bonds. The measure was meant to ease debt burdens on the country's local governments and offer stimulus amid economic turmoil. But the flood of bond sales, including those by local governments, soaked up a huge amount of liquidity, and onshore lenders have since rushed to counteract the crunch by scrambling to raise cash. This week, banks issued a form of short-term debt at a record pace. Lenders have doubled the sale of these so-called negotiable certificates of deposit to more than 1 trillion yuan, or about $137 billion, according to Bloomberg. Even state-backed lender Industrial and Amp Commercial Bank of China sold a 6-month note at the highest yield this year. And last week, some smaller banks were forced to borrow cash at a short-term rate of 50% on October 31st due to the liquidity squeeze. The spike also came as banks had to square their books before the month ended, Reuters reported. In response, the People's Bank of China has signaled plans to support liquidity through a number of monetary approaches. Ideas include the reduction of in-lender reserve requirements and adding cash through open market operations. Cash concerns add to a lengthy list of issues plaguing China's financial markets this year. Low growth, a real estate crash, immense debt, and an exodus of foreign investors' capital have all been running themes since Beijing lifted pandemic restrictions a year ago. This not only strains their financial stability, but also puts immense pressure on their ability to provide loans to consumers and businesses, potentially stunting economic growth. But it doesn't stop there. The cash crunch has also exacerbated existing issues in China's financial markets. The low growth, a real estate crash, high debt, and the outflow of foreign investors' capital are all part of a complex web of interconnected problems. And the cash crunch has added another layer of concern, further complicating the situation. In the face of a real estate crash, for instance, the cash crunch can significantly hinder recovery efforts. With liquidity in short supply, developers may struggle to secure the necessary funding to complete projects, leaving homebuyers in the lurch and adding fuel to the fire of economic instability. Moreover, the high debt in the country's financial system becomes even more worrisome. As the liquidity dries up, the ability to service this debt becomes increasingly challenging, potentially leading to a vicious cycle of debt defaults and financial instability. The outflow of foreign investors' capital also gets a new dimension in the context of a cash crunch. As foreign investors pull out their capital, the liquidity issue intensifies, and the country's financial stability takes a hit. However, amidst all this chaos, the People's Bank of China is not standing idle. It has plans to address the liquidity issue, such as reducing lender reserve requirements and injecting cash through open market operations. These measures aim to infuse liquidity back into the market, though their success remains to be seen. As we have seen, the ripple effects of these economic decisions can be far-reaching and complex, affecting not only the country's financial markets, but also its economic growth and stability.